Good evening, everyone. This is Gail from Studio 60. Tonight I'm ready to go with my paint, and we're going to start this awesome summer night campground shot. This in particular, I thought you just might want to watch and paint later if you want to, or if you've got stuff there and you want to do it along with me. This is actually a piece of like a masonite particle board, 1/4 inch thick. I painted the back black. I did paint the front white. I wanted a white base for this. I did then afterwards took a fine block of sandpapered that so it would be a nice smooth finish. This will be coated with a marine varnish because this is going to sit outside our camper when we go camping. We'll put it up there by our campsite. So somewhere I might end up putting our name on it somewhere. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to take the yellow and I'm going to go ahead and brush in yellow between, and I'm going to do it, I can still see through my trees. Kind of want to do it all the way down into the crooks. Doesn't have to be, as you can see, I'm using a scruffy brush, something that is still useful but not useful for doing finer art moves than what we're doing here. Like I said, I'm just kind of going in all sorts of directions, and I'm going to end it right about in here. I'm also going to, at this time, take this and I'm going to fill in the yellow in the window of our camper. Now, if I hadn't painted this white, this would have all just soaked up into the particle board and we'd have lost it. That white gives it a nice base. It's okay that the pencil shows through because there'll be a black rim around that. I'm also going to, excuse me for the reach, need to bring my water over. I'm also going to rinse that brush off. I'm going to go in with a smaller, I believe this is a number 4 round, and I'm going to go ahead and prep this, the center of this flame red. And it's okay if this gets a little fuzzy because it's the inside of the flame. I might even do a little bit more like that. Okay, and that's going to dry. This is all going to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a 1/4 inch flat. I have a nice teal. This is called the DecoArt Americana Peacock Teal from Hobby Lobby. That's where I particularly bought it. And we're going to start filling in the bottom of our retro trailer. They're the hot thing right now. I don't know if you know that for the last few years, people are finding these vintage trailers, and they are, oh, I don't have to be so careful though. They are finding these vintage trailers and they're revamping them, and in some cases, they're really making them to look like this. So it's kind of fun. I remember as a kid, my parents had one similar to what I'm painting. It had little wings back here. They called it a Shasta. And I probably was 7 or 8. And they took us everywhere. They had good parents. Great parents. So we're just going to go ahead and paint that in. Teal's a fun color. And even if I can't see those lines, we'll be guided by just the shape. I'm going around the wheel with the wheel well because I'm going to have that be the color of the top. Okay, smooth that out a little bit. And now I'm going to switch to a gray, a little bit of gray or green up on the top here. Sticking with that soft teal. Boy, that's a nice smooth surface. Remember to do that if you're going to paint on wood and it's not going to be stained, you know, like a walnut or a birch or some kind of stain like that. If you give it a foundation of gesso or white paint or beige paint, whatever, it does help. And I believe this is pretty light, so we're going to have to do a second coat. Oop. Picked up a little of that other color there. And I'm going to let that one dry. I'm going to come down to the wheel well. And I'm going to go ahead now that my red is dry. The reason we're bouncing all over here is because we're letting places dry and we can work on these other spots. So right now I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to go ahead and put yellow over my moon. And I'm going to let that moon kind of go in. We're going to put black over this so you won't see where I went over that outside the lines, okay? Now I'm going to, with the smaller brush, I'm going to go ahead and base in the yellow for the fire. Again, this is going to be black. So if you go out of the lines a little bit under here, it's not going to be terrible. Okay. We're going to need a little bit of white. I just put on my palette right here. And I'm going to take just the tiniest bit of black and see what that gets me. Because I want a nice gray. A little bit darker than that. Pick up some more black. Yeah, let's go with that. Typically our tires would be black, but the background here is going to be black. So we need to contrast that. Smooth that out. Use my finger sometimes just to get an overrun off. Okay. And then I'm going to go, it would be nice if you have a variety of different size brushes to choose from if you're painters and you're just watching and you want to paint along. When people do a paint class with me online, I do give you a whole list of the paint colors, the brushes needed, tracers for it, all of that, a picture of the product. Oh, and this just goes to show right now. You see why I don't have this on an easel? First of all, it's heavier than a canvas. But I have always, and I've been painting a long time, I have painted on an easel. Usually for paint parties I do that. But for me personally, I move it around a lot. Sometimes I hold it. Sometimes it's just easier for me to get a nice line. So I tend to prefer not to have an easel. I notice when I've been doing the paint parties at our studio, I would say more than half ended up putting the easel on the floor next to them. They kind of paint like I do. All right, I'm going back in now, and I'm going to give this top a second coat. And now you could have just as easily done this in gray and may not even had to do a second coat, but I really like that retro look of these two colors. Okay. Okay. And I will also now go over this. There. Anyone need to catch up? Okay. Now, I'm going to go back up now to nope, actually what I'm going to do while I'm here, I'm going to take some of that gray that I have made up, and I'm going to go ahead and do my rocks around my fire. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to have to shade one side of this, so you know that there's more than one rock there. And then I'm just going to let that blend that out. So it looks like there's actually a rock. And this one is behind this one. I'll do the same thing over here. A little bit of that black. Going on this side. And then the last one. All right, and we got some rocks in place for our fire pit. So now we're going to go to this teal, and I'm going to put, I do have my mushy brush, which here's my mushy brush. And I'm going to go ahead and put just the tiniest bit of white into that teal. Give that a stir around. And I'm thinking, no, I guess it'll be okay. We'll see. All right. So I'm going to go from left to right. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start putting this on and leaving texture. I'm leaving enough of my mountaintops I'm loosely following the line that I have drawn on here, and I want to be able to see a little bit of color variation because of how I'm putting it on. Kind of fun. You don't have to have much of a technique for this, do you? Kind of blotting it. Might have just enough paint. Hopefully I guessed it that good. Okay. And then I'm going to go right to my blue, which I have a brand new one, so I have to go get it out of the bag. And I can't decide. I think I'm going to go with deep. Ultra deep. Blue deep. Ultra blue deep. Although that does look a little purpley. Nope, I think I'm going to go ahead and go with the Deco Art Royal Navy. And let me get some of that in here. I'm going to start up here, and I'll work back from the top down to the color I just put on. The same thing. And I can soften that kind of on that line at the bottom. That's why a little scruffy brush works well, so you don't have a hard line. And even this color, once this really soak into this, even with me putting a barrier paint down onto this board. Wasn't for sure I was going to do that, and I'm really glad I did. Do want to keep the tips of my mountains enough so that I can see where they go. So I can cover over a little bit, but enough to know where they go. Go down there a little farther. And I've decided I'm not going to go up quite that far. And these are the decisions you can make aesthetically while you're painting it, if you care for that. All right. We're going to let that dry. I'm going to rinse out my brush. And I'm going to grab a decent 1/2 inch. It's got a pretty nice flat. It hasn't been all splayed out. It hasn't got a lot of paint into the base of the brush. And I'm going to start with my, whoops, throw this all over the place, huh? Don't care for that. There. All right. With my black. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to start going in with my trees. Let me push this way. I hope you can see it. I'm going to move some of this stuff for you. And then the reason I wanted a nice flat one is so I can go back and forth and get a wedge. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go like this down the sides. To get the look of pines. I'll go ahead and fill this one in. So I'm going to go and need to go in and turn it. This is just the way I paint, and many people do. Just get a better line. Go ahead and get my the sharper, the better. So this isn't hard. It is a process, but it isn't hard. In fact, if we had some good campground tunes on or something like that, it'd be wonderful. And that's one of the things I'll be working on in the next couple weeks, is finding some royalty-free music that's awesome to listen to. And it won't break the bank. You probably can't see it. I hope you can. I'm actually going to start once we get down. This guy's going right in here. So in the comments, please tell me if any of you camp. I have quite a few different little camping related paintings, and maybe if you camped it as a kid, or you want to camp now. We have a fifth wheel right now. We used to have a truck camper, but we decided we would like to go down to Florida and stay for a longer time, and fifth wheel makes it a little bit easier for us. However, COVID hit the same year we bought it, and we had to cancel our plans. So hopefully this August I'll be painting out in the West at a picnic table and doing live paintings from state parks and federal parks in the West. How fun would that be, right? How fun would that be? I've decided that I'm going to go back and put all their little branches on after I get them all painted in. I think that's a better plan. As I turn it all around. Did anybody go camping this past year? I want normal again. I hope that's not political. Hope for normal. Fun little painting, isn't it? I can't wait to stick it in a stake and hang it out by our campsite. I noticed that's kind of the thing well, I say that. I'm not sure about that. I can remember my parents, when we camped, they had belonged to 2 camping clubs, and they had all sorts of little signs out saying the Anderson family or the Richards clan, whatever. They all kind of had little signs that other people. And I know out west in some of the big national parks, people would have signs that said where they were from, what state. I do notice that the little we went camping 2020, it was not like it used to be where people came and stopped at your site while you were cooking or something and they started to talk to you. People were pretty much by themselves, staying away from one another. It was very odd. But I don't think that's going to be this way this year, I think. Could be a little bit more back to normal. Okay. Besides painting, we need to get away from all that stuff, don't we? Okay, let's see. So I'm going to bring this around here now. Here's the easy part. Just coming around and painting black around everything. I want to do a good job of covering because, like I said, this will be on a stake and put at the beginning of our campsite. And if I remember, if it rains, I guess I could come out and get it, but I wanted to make sure. Oh, I see one little part I forgot, people. I forgot my hitch. That should be gray. So I'm going to go around it, and I'll add the gray in when I'm done with the black. I was almost going to whistle, and I get in trouble for that too. I guess I'd be whistling something that has a copyright to it. I don't want to infringe on anybody. But I'll get that figured out soon. I hope you guys, whoever's listening, has something on. They can't stop you from having some music. And I'm going to have to come back in here with a tighter brush in a minute, but I'll kind of go around it right now. See how much I turn it? I really do. Who thinks this is pretty easy? I'd love it for you to comment. It's always nice to have some critique, and nice or respectful. It's always nice to hear what people have to say. And now, if someone by chance is painting this at the same time I am, because this was not really a class, it was just something I wanted to say, hey, you know, if you want to watch or paint with it, this is live right now, but it will be on the website. So you can go pick this up tomorrow or Saturday or whenever you want and go ahead and paint this. Sometimes it's nice to watch it live and then paint it later, because then you can pause it, take breaks when you need to, catch up when you need to, speed it up if you need to. I know one of the places we want to go is the Badlands. Haven't been to the Badlands for many, many years. The kids were little. I remember getting in the parking lot, and the boys, no sooner did they get out of the car, they had to go to the bathroom, and there was nothing around. We loaded back up in the car, went probably 20 miles, find a bathroom. Now, I bet right now they have something built by now. I'm not a spring chicken, so it's been a while back. They probably made better accommodations since we were there. I'm just going in and getting some of the little places that I missed. I think I can do this with this brush. I think I can. Isn't that the little engine that thought he could? I think I can. I think I can. Okay, I'm going to go in now, and I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of these little boughs on here. And I'll have to turn it depending on which way I'm going. You know what I always do, people? If you look at my paint, I always pour way too much paint. Don't do that. Don't do what I do. Granted, when I'm doing these classes online, I don't want to take the time to be filling up my paint, but still, I don't like wasting either. Some of this I can put back. Kind of like them a little wild looking. If you're watching, I would appreciate a little comment and tell me who you, no, yeah, I guess just like if you're enjoying it, or what you do for art, or Just any little thing. Kind of nice to know. I know what you could tell me. Tell me what's your favorite place to go camp and where was the best trip you went. Has anybody been out to Yogi Berra here? We don't, it's not quite a campground like this, but it is the closest thing I think we have around to get to. It's not too far away. We camp at Shabana, Lake Shabana, which is really nice. Take a kayak there and we kayak. Oh, that's what I need to do. Hey, does anybody think it would be kind of fun to do a picture of kayak? Not a kayak, but like the water and a couple people kayaking, maybe a silhouette, so it turns out nice and people that are beginners would be able to accomplish a nice look. We took up kayaking last year when everybody had to be alone. We were alone on lakes in the river. One of my sons is a river rat. And those of you that know me, who are friends on Studio 60, know exactly which one that is. He is a river rat. He's going to have me paint him a porch leaner with a bass and a fishing pole on it. Come on in, the water's fine. Alright, that took a little time, but as you could see, it was not hard to do at all. So now we've got silhouette of our trees against our sunset. Now what we need to do is, oh, I know what I do need to do right now. I need to find a small brush, see if I can salvage some of this gray. I have just maybe just enough to get my hitch on. My trailer. There we go. Okay. And I can kind of brush up this tire a little bit. Round it out. And I'm going to twirl my brush in that to get a nice point on there. And I think I'm even going to do a little round, give it that idea of something round. All right. Now I'm going to go up, but I'm going to take first my brush and I'm going to go carefully around my moon. Fun painting, really is. Doable. Hey, just thought of something. If you've got a father-in-law or a father or a brother or somebody in the family who does go camping, what a cute Father's Day present. Typically, they probably aren't in charge of hanging stuff in the home, but maybe in the campground, it's another story, huh? This would be a really cute painting for Father's Day. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. I wanted nice crisp lines around my moon. In fact, I'm going to go into where it's going to be too tight. And now I'm going to switch back to my mushy brush. Remember my mushy brush, the one that's all splayed out? I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to get black, and I'm going to start doing the mushy into the blue. The blue will be dry now, but you can get a soft line just because the bristles are all splayed out. Okay, so we're going to go into that. Oh, by the way, I already painted my sides white on here, but afterwards I'm going to go and paint the black. I just think that it's gonna, I won't do it now. I don't want to take the time, but I think that's going to be the better deal. Okay. Yeah, I like it. All right. So we're just going to do that. A little mushy, mushy, mushy. You know what I would have called this painting? I think Under the Stars is a good name, but in a way, it seems almost like a Van Gogh. Not right now, but you'll see what I mean. Almost like a Van Gogh type of scene when you get the way the sky and the stars are going across. Starry Night. That's probably why they called it that. Close enough, I guess. So I'm going to go, I want a little bit more night, so I'm going down over some of my blue here to get more dark sky up at the top. So you can correct. It's your painting, right? It's your painting. And nobody's going to tell you what you can do with your painting, right? Only when people ask. That's polite. If you ask for it. Ooh, I like it, like it, like it, like it, like it. Now it's got that night sky. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, give me a minute. And I'm just going to quick look at my reference. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is find a nice, decent size liner. This one is pretty good, if you can see it. I'm going to hold it against my hand. And this is an Artist Loft, which is, I believe, Michael's number 4, with a little bit of length to that, to the bristles. So I'm going to go ahead. Here's what I'd like to do. I like to grab some black out. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to take 2 scoops of the black and 2 scoops of water, because I want this to be thinner than what we used on the background, more like a thick ink. And then I twirl it when I pull it back, so I get it to be a little bit smaller. Okay, so what I need to do here is I'm going to just take my brush and go slowly so I get a nice line. And then if I turn it the right way, I can see the line for the door. It comes up like this. And I'll go back down and bring it up. And this only goes from the wheel. Okay. And a circle around a window. Nowadays, if you saw this and you saw lights in the window, kind of later in the evening on a campground, you'd see an antenna and everybody in there watching TV. Seriously. People still do have campfires, but after a while, you'll see the antennas, and so many of the campers nowadays even have the outdoor TV, so people are sitting by the fire and watching TV. Okay, we've got our window our little door round window. And I'm going to right now take that same brush. Actually, I'm going to take a little bit different one, so a little bit more of a point to it. And I'm going to take, and I'm going to try this real quick to see how much this shows up. I just want a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to, perfect, here and there, let a bit of the trunk come through. Just a suggestion. Can be pretty sketchy. I want them to be really strong lines. Okay. Now I'm going to take some of this green here that I've got, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it in this leftover light green that I used on the top of the camper. I'm going to grab some yellow and a dab of water, and I'm going to take my scruffy brush and rinse that out. I use half of the half sheet, so quarter sheet of a normal size paper towel, because I find that I don't waste so much. So I'm going to dry off my scruffy brush, and I'm going to dip it into that green. I'm going to dap it off a little bit, and I'm going to kind of do some grass here. See it? And you can go up a little bit over your wheel. I know my prototype that I put on, I did the grass a different way, but I kind of like this one. Then you can also scruffy it this way a little bit on the bottom. All right, now our next step is stars. I'm going to use a plate over here, and I'm going to make kind of a flat smush of white paint, and I'm going to find a nice brush with a nice size. Here we go. I think this one. Let me try. Dip it in, and I'm going to dip, dip, dip. We're going to get the stars on. Now, I may not have to say this, and I know y'all know this, but sometimes when we're painting, we don't think about, you don't put the stars in front of the trees. I only say that because people do it, and they're very brilliant people. It's just they're not thinking when they're painting because it's just something new and different than what we normally do. And then I have to explain, you know, why. And then they go, oh, I knew that. Well, of course you did, and I know that. So all our stars are going. Now here's when I was saying to you, you could almost make this a little Van Gogh-y by taking these stars and having it go in circles here. And possibly, look at here, going around this tree here. Ooh, I wonder if I should do that. I won't. But somebody else might. If you do, if someone else does this painting and puts those Van Gogh swirls, take a picture and post it on here, you know, in your comments. And how cool is this? Isn't this looking fun? And if you load this up, the more you make, the more different sizes you get. See, I did that 5 times. You went from quite big to quite little. Ew, the far away stars. I really like this. This is so cute. Okay, I'm gonna wipe that off. Oh, I can hear myself in the background.
See, I did that 5 times. You went from
I guess I have to turn that off. I could now, oh, people, I'm so sorry because I could be seeing your comments. Oh, I have to make sure I do that next time. Usually if I'm doing a class, we're doing it on a private Facebook page or Google Classroom, and I can see you and you can see me, and we can have a dialogue and answer questions right away. So now what we want to do, and here's what I'm going to do really quick, is I'm going to dry my stars because I have to put smoke from the campfire up there. And if I do that, I'm going to smear one of those stars and it's not going to look good. So let me grab my hair dryer and dry that real quick. Oh, there goes everything. You know what? I just thought about, I will do it later, but I'll tell you in a minute. I think that would be really kind of cute. All right. I'm going to get my, let me see, do I want to use, I'm going to use that flat, nice flat brush, the one that can get a nice chiseled edge on it. I want to make sure that all clean. And I actually have a clean water. You could always have two waters. I see two things that I want to do. I actually want to take some red, and I'm going to do my famous flattening to wedge it. And I kind of need to have some of that red coming up like that. I like that better. And it doesn't have to be anything spectacular. Just, yep, I like that better. And if you wanted to, you could actually, let's see. I'm mixing a tiny bit of orange in there. Yeah. Okay. I gotta clean that out again. And I'm gonna go to my white, if I can find what I did with it. There we go. Sorry about that. And I'm going to come into this. I'm going to chisel it again. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice this on this side because I can paint it black again. And I'm going to do it upside down. If I take my chisel and turn it, and get my smoke, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll just go ahead and paint that black later. It'll cover right over it. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to dab off just a little bit of it so it's not quite so. And I'm going to take this, flatten it. And maybe when it gets up here, it's going to have to be a little. Do it again. Oh yeah. I'm just kind of getting it a little so it shows up a little bit more. So what I'm doing is I'm just varying the pressure that I'm using on that chiseled edge. Now that this is white, I can give a little bit of highlight. Reflection on the rock. Okay. So, here's what I may not like this, but I'm going to try it. For some reason, over here, I'm thinking I'm going to, let's see if I can do this. If I put a little of this, oh, I know what. This and this. A red and a green is going to give me a brown. Okay, here's my brown. And I'm going to go ahead and over here, kind of as we kind of get them down closer to the ground, I'm just making some of this like a larger base of a tree. And then, oh, I don't know if I should do this, but I'm gonna, I can always paint black over it. I'm gonna put little eyes. You know what? We camped up in, I'm trying to think, up in Wisconsin. We rafted with the kids, and at night we were all having campfires with our friends, and there had to be 6 or 7 raccoons up in the trees watching us the whole time. It was so fun. So I got some raccoons here. Tell me if you like this or not, okay? If you think it looks hokey. Okay, but I have to dry it real quick. Okay. Now, the smallest thing that I have would be this one, and I made it as tiny as I can. And now I'm going to do this. All right. For some reason, this shifted. I'm not sure why, but I'll have to figure that out. But here is my painting. Makes me want to go camping. Oh, I do see one thing I want to do. I do. I see right here. This needs to be crossed. And I'll probably see something else. Oh, and another one. I do. All right. See, it's a good thing you step up and look at your work. There we go. There we go. Fun, fun picture. I like my raccoons looking at us. Really cute. Please, guys, if any of you painted it or paint it in the next few days, if you would wouldn't mind taking a picture of it and posting it on here under the comments. You can always post comments even though it's not live anymore. It'd be great to see. So thank you, everybody. Really, really happy. Thank you. And now let me see if I can finish this.